started out with a good afternoon has turned into good evening.
You were never here in the afternoon. I don't know where you were. You started at 7 o'clock.
When I wrote this, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Medical Marijuana Task Force, my name is Bob Bridges, and I do represent the Libertarian Party of Ohio and Ohio Patients Can PAC. I'm here to testify as a proponent to medical marijuana in Ohio, and hopefully offer you guys a solution. I want to give my testimony tonight, not as the chair of the Libertarian Party, or as the executive director of a PAC, or as a lobbyist, but simply as a humble citizen of the great state of Ohio. The Ohio Medical Cannabis Act, as when it was written, I will call it bill during this at times, is an essential piece of legislation for the health and security of all citizens of our state. Cannabis and cannabis-related products are medicine. Dozens of studies have shown the effectiveness for relieving pain, for countering nausea and loss of appetite, and for dealing with a variety of other conditions. Every day, Ohioans are leaving our state, either temporarily or for good, in order to receive treatment elsewhere that they are denied here. They spend their money helping economies of other states, and when they leave for good, their labor and creativity goes with them. The Ohio Medical Cannabis Act would mean that these patients can stay here in Ohio and receive the medicine they need under conditions which are responsible and regulated. This bill, when passed, would create a controlled and truly responsible means for producing and distributing cannabis-related products without subjecting patients or caregivers to the depredations of a cartel. It protects medical practitioners who prescribe cannabis or cannabis-related products and patients, caregivers, providers, and cultivators from legal consequences so as long as they stay within the rules, and from discrimination in hiring, education, child custody, to be approved by the state's voters. One of these, while limited to medical rather than general use, repeats the mistakes of last year's issue 3 by limiting commercial production to a handful of well-funded growers. This is precisely the kind of cronyism that the polls show that caused issue 3's defeat. The other is a one-page statement of the right to medical cannabis, which states principles but would require legislative action to implement. Should this initiative reach the ballot and pass, this piece of legislation right here, this bill, could provide that framework. Make no mistake that medical cannabis is coming to Ohio and around the country. The only question is how. Will it be a wide open Wild West or out of reasonable regulation? Or will it be a responsible act passed by responsible public servants watching out for the best interests of patients, of caregivers, and the general public? Will patients needing medicine be permitted to receive it only on the whim of a handful of wealthy producers? Or will they have access to reasonably priced cannabis product? In my opinion, the Speaker, as I understand it, assembled this Medical Marijuana Task Force to put together a solution, recommend positive action. This task force can recommend positive action that will manage access to medical cannabis responsibly, and in which will keep the initiative in the hands of legislatures, where future changes can be made based on experience or changing needs. The legislator can act to set responsible rules and limits, or it can wait and deal with whatever initiative the voters of Ohio pass. I thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the members of this task force for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I am available for any questions.
We'll start off with Dr. Humphrey.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bridges. We have this 137-page bill in front of us. Who asked LSC to write this?
This came out of Representative Bischoff's office.
Okay. But myself, Representative Shuri, Representative Ramos was not part of this?
Correct.
Okay. If I can ask another question.
Yes.
In here, I have not been able to digest 137 pages, and else cannot it will help the loss of hair from the scalp, will help urinary tract infections, incontinence, infectious diseases. Do you have any, I don't see too many conditions that were not covered here. Do you have any research or any logic behind that?
Yes, these are all the federally approved conditions for use of medical cannabis under the Federal Compassionate Investigational New Drug Study Program. It's including to, but not limited to. So the federal government includes these listed diseases and illnesses, but does not limit what medical marijuana can do.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Sheriff Luce.
Real quick question. We heard testimony in your earlier testimony there about people leaving Ohio. Do you know of any studies or stats that have shown how many of these folks have left Ohio?
I have that data on my laptop. I don't have it with me. And to the chair, if I may, provide it to Sheriff Luce.
Yes, or would you provide it to, moving on down, we now have Mr. Alexander Beck from Youngstown, Ohio. Mr. Beck.